What you are about to hear was never supposed to leak, but it did. And once you know it, you cannot unknow it. Hello, friends. My name is James, and you are watching Royal Daily Report, your #1 source for the most exclusive, most shocking, and most talked about royal stories on the internet. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now because you do not want to miss what we have coming. And if you have been here from the beginning, you already know. We never stop. We never hold back. And tonight is no different. Let us get into it. While the world was watching the headlines about court cases, security battles, and a brother who will not speak to his son, something quiet was happening in the background that almost nobody noticed. A grandfather, 5,000 miles away, was buying birthday presents, wrapping them, writing personal messages, sending them to 2 children he barely gets to see. Year after year, no matter how cold the rift, no matter how loud the lawsuits, no matter what the headlines screamed that week, King Charles never once forgot a birthday. Not Archie's, not Lilibet's. Tonight we are telling you the full story of the secret bond between King Charles and his youngest grandchildren, the gifts nobody was supposed to know about, the framed photograph that brought a king to tears, and the small, quiet gestures that reveal something the public feud has never been able to hide. This is Royal Daily Report, and tonight, this story will make you see King Charles completely differently. Let us start with the Cubby house, because this is where the story of Charles's secret devotion to his grandchildren truly begins. In June 2023, as Princess Lilibet approached her 2nd birthday, reports confirmed that King Charles had quietly instructed his aides to commission a custom-made Cubby house for his granddaughter. Not an ordinary toy, a specific, deeply personal gift, modeled on something called Bwtwynbach, the little cottage in Welsh, that had been given to a young Princess Elizabeth and her sister Princess Margaret decades earlier. Charles wanted Lilibet, growing up in Montecito, California, thousands of miles from the palace grounds where that original little cottage still stands, to have a piece of that same childhood magic. A source close to the situation said the gift would be one that was, in their words, remembered forever, and would ensure that a little bit of Queen Elizabeth was carried on with her great-granddaughter. Think about what that means. A king, in the middle of one of the most painful family ruptures in modern royal history, was personally overseeing the construction of a child-sized cottage because he wanted his granddaughter, who he barely knew, to feel connected to a family history she had almost no access to. If you want to understand just how far this secret bond actually goes, subscribe to Royal Daily Report right now. Because what comes next happened every single year, quietly, without fail. Now let us talk about the pattern. Because this was not a one-time gesture. This became a tradition. In June 2024, as Lilibet turned 3, royal expert Tom Quinn confirmed to the Mirror that King Charles had, in his words, no intention of completely ignoring Lilibet's birthday. He sent a special gift along with a heartfelt personal message. This happened even though the royal family was, as Quinn put it, notably absent from the guest list for her party in Montecito due to the ongoing rift. A source close to Harry, described as an old army friend, explained the painful contradiction at the heart of this story. They said, quote, Harry knew they wouldn't come anyway, and he was pretty sure he would not have wanted them there. But he is really sad that Archie and Lilibet cannot have any kind of relationship with their cousins while his feud with his family continues. That is the emotional core of this entire story. A father who does not even expect reconciliation at his daughter's birthday party, but who still feels the quiet grief of knowing his children are growing up disconnected from cousins, grandparents, and an entire side of their heritage. And in June 2025, when Lilibet turned 4, the pattern repeated itself again. The news confirmed that the king sent a gift along with a personal message, with an insider noting plainly, the king never separates himself from his people. He even shows leniency to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex despite all their stunts. The same source added something that reveals exactly how Charles thinks about this situation. They said, he feels the young royals must not be deprived of their rights because of adult rifts. 3 consecutive birthdays. 3 consecutive gifts. 3 consecutive years of a king quietly refusing to let his own personal conflict with his son become his granddaughter's loss too. Like this video right now if this is the first time you are seeing the real, quiet side of King Charles. And subscribe to Royal Daily Report, because what comes next is about a moment that genuinely moved the king to tears. Now let us talk about September 2025, because something happened that month that royal insiders have described as one of the most emotional private moments of Charles's entire reign. Harry traveled to Clarence House for a private meeting with his father, their first face-to-face reunion in years. And according to reports, Harry did not arrive empty-handed. He brought his father a framed photograph. A picture of himself, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet together as a family. He handed it to Charles personally to mark their reunion. Think about the weight of that gesture. Not a political statement, not a public relations move. A son walking into a room with his estranged father, holding out a photograph of the grandchildren that father has barely been allowed to know, and saying, in the most human language possible, "This is your family too." And Charles, in return, gave Harry an early birthday present, since Harry was turning 41 just 6 days later. He called him, in the words reported at the time, his darling boy. That phrase, darling boy, not Duke of Sussex, not estranged son, darling boy, the same tender, old-fashioned language a father uses for a child he has never stopped loving, no matter how complicated their relationship has become. Do not go anywhere. Subscribe to Royal Daily Report and turn on those notifications, because what comes next is about the small details that prove this bond is deeper than anyone outside the family fully realized. Now let us talk about the blanket, because sometimes the smallest details tell the biggest stories. On June 4th, 2025, when Lilibet turned 4, Meghan posted 2 previously unseen photographs to Instagram. And eagle-eyed royal watchers, along with confirmed reporting from People magazine, noticed something extraordinary. Lilibet was wrapped in the exact same merino wool baby blanket that her older brother Archie had worn for his official photo call at Windsor Castle, just 2 days after his birth back in May 2019. The blanket came from G.H. Hurt & Son, a British knitwear brand that has supplied baby shawls for the royal family since King Charles himself was wrapped in one as a newborn in 1948. That is not a coincidence. That is a deliberate, quiet thread connecting 4 generations of this family. Charles as a baby, Archie at his first photo call outside Windsor Castle, and now Lilibet, thousands of miles away in California, wrapped in the same fabric, carrying the same tiny piece of royal continuity that her father and grandfather once carried too. Meghan did not have to use that blanket. She chose to. And in choosing it, she preserved a connection to the family history that no court case, no security dispute, and no public feud has been able to fully sever. Now let us talk about the coronation, because it contains one of the most quietly heartbreaking details in this entire story. Buckingham Palace confirmed that King Charles's coronation would be held on May 6, 2023, and royal admirers immediately realized the date carried a hidden significance. It was Archie's 4th birthday. On the single most important day of Charles's reign, the day he was formally crowned in front of the world, his grandson was turning 4 years old, 5,000 miles away, without him. And it gets more poignant still. Lilibet's first birthday, on June 4, 2022, landed on the 3rd day of Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee celebrations. During that event, the late Queen met her great-granddaughter for the very first time, following the Trooping the Color parade. That meeting, brief as it was, remains the only time Lilibet has ever met a member of her father's family in person on British soil. A birthday that coincided with a jubilee. A coronation that coincided with another birthday. As if fate keeps placing these children's most significant milestones directly inside the most significant moments of this family's public life, almost daring everyone involved to notice the connection and do something about it. Let us talk about April 2026, because the most recent confirmed reporting shows this pattern is still continuing right now. National World confirmed that Meghan marked Archie's 7th birthday with a simple, tender caption, "7 years later, happy birthday to our sweet boy." The same reporting confirmed Harry and Meghan's continued effort to reach toward Charles, even amid the ongoing rift. An insider close to the family explained their mindset with remarkable clarity. They said, Harry and Meghan know plenty of people will view these gestures with suspicion, but they don't care. Their attitude is that until Charles tells them to stop reaching out, they'll keep making the effort. Until Charles tells them to stop. That single sentence tells you everything about where this family actually stands beneath the headlines. Not enemies. Not a family that has given up on each other. A family still reaching, still trying, still sending gifts and photographs and birthday wishes across an ocean, waiting for the day the distance finally closes for good. Here is what all of this actually tells us. The public story of this family has been built on conflict. Lawsuits, memoirs, interviews, years of headlines describing a permanent, unbridgeable rift between a king and his son. And all of that conflict is real. It is documented. It has caused genuine pain on every side. But underneath it, running quietly and consistently for years, is a different story entirely. A grandfather who commissions a custom cottage for a granddaughter he has met only once. A king who sends a personal gift and message every single year, without fail, even when the rest of the family stays away. A son who carries a framed family photograph into his father's house as an offering of reconciliation. A father who calls that same son his darling boy. A blanket, passed quietly from one royal generation to the next, despite everything keeping them apart. These are the gestures that do not make headlines. They do not generate court cases or best-selling memoirs. But they are, in their own quiet way, the truest evidence we have of what this family actually feels for each other, underneath all the noise. This is Royal Daily Report, and this is the story behind the story. That is all for tonight, friends. I am James, and this has been Royal Daily Report. If this story hit different for you, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you have not already, and turn on those notifications because we drop new stories every single week. Share this video with one friend who loves royal news. I will see you in the next one. Until then, stay informed, stay curious, and stay royal. Goodbye, friends. Hello, friends. If you are not subscribed to Royal Daily Report yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button right now.